Hello and welcome to the UFOcast, episode 17, depending on, of course, what order you're listening to these things. This is Sub-Smash. I'm Michael.
And I'm Luke.
And we've got somebody special with us today, because it's not just the two of us.
I'm Andrew.
Not just an Andrew, though. It's Andrew Smith.
That's the fellow. Yeah.
Now, you're joining us for two podcasts. You're joining us for the Sub-Smash that we're going to do today. And you're also joining us for next time's The Sound of Silence.
Correct. Which has a bit of a link to my Doctor Who. And, if people listen to this and don't know, my background is I wrote Doctor Who serial way back in 1980 called Full Circle, which happened to share a location with Sound of Silence, but we'll say more about that when we get to The Sound of Silence.
And, of course, you were only 12 at the time, which is pretty impressive. Right.
I was much older.
Yeah.
Almost twice, yeah.
I've read DWM. It said you were 12. Right. So, today it's Sub-Smash. Now, historically, we always start off with the misleading synopsis. But before we go down that road, Luke, you got to go to UFOCon. I didn't. I'm sad. What was it like?
It was a lot of fun. Reasonably late in the day, I got asked by Steve Hatcher, who people will know from running Hooverville. I got asked if I would be the onstage interviewer of Aisha, who plays Lieutenant Johnson in UFO. She's one of the people that you see in the title sequence every week.
Oh, Aisha. Aisha. Look, we will talk more about Aisha.
Well, so I asked her how you pronounce. I said, "How do you pronounce your name?" And she said, "It's Aisha," as in I shouldn't have done that. So that's from her own lips.
Well, I and my friends have been saying her name since I was about 5. So she means a lot to those of us who were kids in the 70s. I'll tell you. But anyway, on you go.
So I'd be interested to hear your memories in a bit. Yeah. Anyway, so I got there and then was asked to essentially be her minder for the day as well. So I was kind of getting her to and from autograph rooms and signings and various things like that. So I did have some free time to hang out in the green room and go to panels and things. So I got an interview with Alan Perry, who his final piece of Anderson work was Kill Straker, which we did last time. So I've got an interview with him that will be coming up soon once I've edited that. And then the other significant interview that I got was with Richard Martin, who is a Doctor Who person. Now, the reason that he was there, and I did know this back in the day and I'd forgotten it, was that he is married to Suzanne Neve, who plays Mary Straker, Ed Straker's wife, who we've touched upon in the 2 episodes that she's been in, and she makes a brief appearance in this one that we're going to talk about tonight. And she was doing her first convention ever, massively nervous. He came with her, and while she was off doing some signings, I just said to him, would you mind doing an interview about Doctor Who? So we talked for about half an hour.
Sorry, this is, there'll be people listening to this who don't know Doctor Who, but that's Richard Martin, the director.
This is Richard Martin, the director, who directed some of the...
I didn't know he was still around. Oh, yep. Wow.
You see, Andrew, you're having the same reaction
he directed, he directed Doctor Who going back to the Hartnell days, Dalek Invasion of Earth, etc. And wow.
Yeah, so he did. I forget which ones it is, but he and Christopher Barry both directed the first Dalek serial. He then came back to do Dalek Invasion of Earth. He did The Web Planet and The Chase. And so he was a delight to chat to. We talked about his engagement story. I think you'll be amused by that, how he and Suzanne got together. And they're still married, well, it must be well over 50 years later. So,
wow. Well done.
That was great. I stupidly forgot to take my audio recorder into the interview on stage that I did with Aisha, and so you'll have to wait for the ShadowCon 2 DVD for that. But that was a lot of fun, and it was a really, really great day, and nice to meet a bunch of really, really nice people. Sadly, that is the second and last ShadowCon that there will be. The organisers have decided that will be it. But we're kind of very kind of open to other people kind of taking up the mantle and organising stuff. But every year goes by, it becomes equally difficult to organise these things as people pass on. A few UFO people have died just within the last sort of year or two. So I think it will be more and more difficult to organise these things. The only other thing to say, the other person that I met was David Collings, who was quite happy to do his onstage interview, but didn't want to do a podcast interview. So sadly didn't get to chat to him on the record, though he's a very, very nice chap. And I'm sure
so he was chatting about psycho bombs and things.
He remembers very little about psycho bombs, and he remembers equally little about his Doctor Who appearances as well. So,
and his Sapphire and Steel
stuff. I saw you tweet about that.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, once he got on stage, actually he had various things to say and left some sort of like tantalising stories. He just kind of gave one line, and you were like, "That's tell us more," and then he didn't. So. He strikes me as being quite an interesting, rather private person who could tell a tale or two. But yeah, so thanks to Steve for inviting both of us. It's just a shame that Michael, you couldn't be there.
No, just simply couldn't be there. It was a bit sad. I know there are some UFO guests at the ITC Con that's being organised quite soon, and I'll find out some more information about that for a future podcast.
Okay. Well, so Michael, give us the synopsis, and then we can get Andrew's first impressions on the story.
Okay, Subsmash. While investigating a new form of UFO that can attack underwater, a team of shadow operatives are endangered when their craft, the new Skydiver, is bombed by an undersea UFO. Most members of the crew are evacuated, but the escape hatch jams and Straker and Lieutenant Nina Barry are trapped. She's badly injured, both are close to death. In what they think must be their last moments, the two become very close to each other, breaking through the barrier of reserve that had separated them through the years that they've worked together in shadow. But salvation comes, and the two of them are rescued afterwards. As they recover, Nina can't help wondering if her moment of vulnerability, she said too much. Now, as always... As always, that does come across as its synopsis written by somebody who wasn't watching the same episode as me. But I am putting my hands up at this point, and I've made no bones about this. I'm not a big fan of submarine-based drama. I love Skydiver, the actual craft. I love the fact that it takes off. One end goes in the air, the other end comes back down for a reasonably adequately explored reason. But in the big world of fiction, never been a massive fan of submarine dramas. They've just... And I know Hunt for Red October is quite cool, but that's kind of it for me.
Well, happily, I love them.
I'm with Andrew on this one. Yeah.
I'll go and get myself put the kettle on, and I'll listen to you two chat. I know...
There's a lovely... it's a great dramatic setting. Very claustrophobic, and we'll come back to the word claustrophobia, I think, when we talk about the background to this, but it's a very claustrophobic setting, and a great place to put your characters in jeopardy, under the water, pounds and pounds of pressure around you, threat of drowning, threat of running out of air.
I know on paper drama, I should completely love these things because you're right about the pressure thing because there was an episode of Infinite Monkey Cage where this scientist was saying, well, we make spacecraft and they only have to withstand one atmosphere from the inside out, and then we've got submarines that have to survive 240 atmospheres, and you're thinking submarine design's slightly more impressive. So I get it. I really should adore these things because you're right. You've got your characters in a confined space, and I love small dramas where everyone's at each other and their characters are stretched. But I don't know what it is. It just doesn't do it for me, and it should.
With this one, I really like the story, but there is a moment at which a whole bucket load of potential jeopardy is just thrown away. For no really good reason, and that is when when Skydiver has gone down, and Sky One is launched.
Yep.
It takes out the alien craft, this new UFO or whatever it is, that's been attacking the ship, is destroyed. That's out of the story. Sky One goes off. The alien element has gone. So this thing that could have been sharing this underwater space with Skydiver,
hunting
and
them,
creating an extra threat, either the ship or the alien inside it, has gone, just been removed from the story. Yeah. So it then becomes, will they get out?
Well, you're completely right.
Which they do. And you know they're going to, because it's the main character in the series. You know?
Yeah.
It's still, I really enjoyed the whole thing. But
you're completely right, though, because
it could have had that, you know.
Because you've got the basic plot at the beginning is Straker saying how easy it would be for the aliens to kidnap people from sea because there's no witnesses. And it could dock with Skydiver to try and kidnap them. Maybe that's it for me, because I've also made no problem about this at all. One of the things that keeps me coming back to UFO is how much, and I know because I've seen most of the episodes now, and I know that it doesn't really happen, but I want to know more about the UFOs. As a kid, when I'm watching this, I want to know more about the aliens. I want to know more about what they're doing, their motivation and everything. So you're right, if there was an actual alien threat, or even if the aliens had shot down Sky One and it had just ended up floating off, like in an escape pod or something like that. So it became the anchor that they could locate when they were searching. So narrative-wise, it could kind of be the same, as opposed to just the guy flying off going, right, lads, I'm flying away, bye. I'll send someone. I think you're completely right, because if the alien had actually got on board ship, I probably would have been more interested in
or been trying to get in, you know, banging on the hull, one or two aliens with cutting equipment trying to get in. All that, you know, there's a lot of potential, but just at that point in the story, I just thought, the actual enemy has just been taken out of the story. But like I say, I still enjoyed it. Enjoyed it, and there's a nice little a nice self-contained story as well, which it had to be. This was the last episode that was filmed at the MGM. Is it MGM British or British MGM Studios?
Yeah.
Before they moved to Pinewood.
MGM British Studios, yeah.
Yeah, and reading the background, as I understand it, they sort of, you know, they were looking for episodes that were kind of contained, not very large casts, confined pretty much to the studio. And so Alan Fennell came up with this, and he came up with it from a conversation that he had with Ed Bishop while filming an earlier episode, and he talked to him about claustrophobia, because Ed Bishop was claustrophobic, which even caused him, because I've listened to the commentary on this as well, it even caused him some issues even when they were filming it in the studio. Obviously, when you wouldn't be completely contained in there, but he still had issues performing on the set. But so this episode, which is a good episode, comes from, you know, production restrictions on cast and locations, and from a passing conversation about claustrophobia.
Yeah, and with the right writer as well. As I mean, we'll touch upon this in Anderson Watch at the end of the show. But Alan Fennell wrote over half of the episodes of Stingray, so you've also got his pedigree with writing submarine stories.
Yeah.
I think I agree with your comment, Andrew, that there is that initial jeopardy, and you want to know more about what that alien craft would have been like, but then that is very quickly replaced with the how are they going to get out? What's going to go on? They come up with this plan that you kind of think, okay, they've got enough air, they've got enough time to get everybody out. But is it going to unfold like that? And then obviously it doesn't quite go to plan, and that's where the drama and the jeopardy comes from for the rest of the episode.
And I think from a writing point of view, I think that shows where Alan Fennell was coming from when he was writing this. I think where he started from was this thing of wanting to have Skydiver grounded underwater, stuck there with shadow personnel inside, struggling to get out, scraping their fingernails off, almost trying to get out the torpedo tubes and things. I think that's where he wanted to be, and that's why he get that. You know, it's kind of thinking of that scenario, and that's why he's got rid of the alien, the UFO, as he did, because that's what he had in mind to get there. So the UFO was a device, really, just to get our characters in this situation.
Yeah, yeah.
But that tends to happen a lot with this series as well. You get the UFO turning up, and then it kind of affects what the main characters, or affects extra characters, and then you have to deal with what's going on. They are often just MacGuffins, the aliens, and I don't know. I can see why a few people would get a bit annoyed at that over time. I suppose if you're watching them all as a box set, back to back, you start noticing these things. But once a week.
I think that's why the direction of the series changes so drastically once we get a few more episodes in.
Yeah.
Because I must admit, I hadn't seen UFO for years. I remember it so well as a kid. I used to love it. But and there are a couple of episodes I know really, really well. The question of priorities, where Straker's son is run over, and is it Survival, where Foster's on the moon surface alongside the alien, and the opening episode, really, really well. But there's a lot of episodes I had no memory of whatsoever, and I had no memory of the shift in the series that comes in fairly soon. But I remember, as I was working my way through the Blu-ray set, and this was 2 years ago when I got it for Christmas, and I just loved it, and I tweeted at the end, I think this is my new favourite Jerry Anderson series. As I worked my way through it, early on I was thinking, I wonder if this has really got legs, just the aliens coming and getting body parts. It's a great concept. It's surprisingly adult and grim. But you at the end of it, you have to take it further if you're really going to keep it going for a series.
Yeah.
And then what they did was they just completely changed what it was about, and they had the aliens. I don't want to say too much, but able to control human beings, that sort of thing, and kind of their motivation became very different.
Yeah.
So I think that thing of using UFOs at some point just to get our characters into certain situations to line them up, that might be so, and that might be because of limitations of how far they were prepared to go in terms of learning more about the aliens, because we still don't know a lot about where they come from, and just how human-like they are. Because again, it's built into the series that they don't live very long, once they're exposed to Earth's atmosphere. So, so they overcame that eventually. But I suppose an inevitable thing was you get episodes like Subsmash, where the UFO incidents at the start are just a device to get our characters into scenes where they can, we can have a character-led drama rather than one that is about actually taking on the aliens.
Yeah. But as we've said, it then does develop into a really good character-led drama. As people are rescued or die, in the case of poor Chin, you narrow that down, and you're like, okay, it's going to be who's it going to be left at the end? And it's Straker and Lieutenant Barry. In that, who for some reason is no longer a moon base, or temporarily not a moon base. She's in Skydiver. Yes.
Yeah. That's the things that happen with the cast on this series are very odd. Along with locations and reused bits of footage. It's very odd.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Well, this is the thing. It's one of those things where you just go, okay, operationally, this makes no sense. To have all these people be jacks of all trades within the organisation. But character-wise, you're like, well, actually, she's great. So why not put her on the submarine? Because ordinarily it would have been Georgina Moon, who, quite frankly, we don't really know anything about, because she's very much just a small recurring bit part. From
her part, I take she was the blonde officer who'd been in the earlier episodes, and like Jeremy Wilkin and that sort of thing. So who didn't have a lot to do except stand around and look at each other while Peter Gordino or someone got into Skydiver and flew off. Yeah,
exactly.
And this episode needed acting chops, so I can see that having Dolores Mantes there would be a good move, especially as Ed Bishop says on the commentary for this episode that they were old friends, and that would have made it easier, I think, for both of them. I think she might have been a bit claustrophobic as well. I think she had some issues on this.
That's definitely mentioned.
Yeah.
I mean, she really sells the. It's just come up now. I've got the episode on the background. She really sells the claustrophobia of that tube. I mean, it's shot really well, but also it's just her. I mean, we hate to. Well, we don't hate to bang on about Doctor Who. We do it all the time, but it's very reminiscent of Sarah Jane Smith in the ducting in The Ark in Space. And that's an equally fantastic scene of someone because of their feminine stature having to crawl through a cramped space.
Yeah, I love the fact they just don't know she's there.
Yeah,
because he thinks she's gone, and you'd think there'd be something that would indicate she hadn't. But but then Ed Bishop thinks he's on his own, and suddenly she appears.
Yeah, bang, bang, bang.
But there's some lovely stuff before that, building up to it, and
one of the other things I love about it is also just the effort that they go to sell the fact that this is actually underwater. So when they empty the hatch for the first time and open it, they've clearly poured water onto the set, which is massively dangerous thing to do.
Yeah,
with all that
electricity
around.
But it's very similitude. You're right. It's a little thing,
exactly.
But absolutely adds realism. Yeah.
But they still manage to. There's a scene where one of the guys is, I think it's the first person to escape, and his tank's filling with water, and they are definitely doing that thing where they're filling 2 pieces of glass. They're filling a fish tank in front of the camera with water.
His hair does, Steve. I think it's Paul Maxwell, isn't it? When he's going.
When he's leaving the hatch,
Yeah, his hair stays remarkably dry underwater.
It's special futuristic hair, quite clearly.
Yeah.
And the rubber on his mask.
It's like the aliens' hair with their what was it, bioacrylic compound that they use to travel in their liquid environment.
Yeah.
So, but he does a good job of trying to turn a thing really slowly to get the hatch open for extra jeopardy.
Yeah. How good is the model work on this as well?
Oh, the whole series
absolutely fantastic. Was it Derek Meddings? Was it Derek Meddings on this?
I think he was still doing stuff. Yeah, there's a whole team of people. Sean Whitaker Cook, people like Mike Trim designing things. And I mean, the thing is, this is the culmination of well over a decade of model work.
Yeah.
Because although we've obviously moved from Super Mario Nation into live action, the model work is still Jerry Anderson.
Oh, without question.
Right there on screen. And this team, some of the people on this team have been working on these shows for literally a decade, and so they are masters of their craft by this point. And yes, I mean you know how it's done. You know that you've got these tanks with water between bits of glass that they shoot through. But still, it looks fantastic, and still on the Blu-ray, it looks amazing.
I utterly don't care. I mean, the business with the hair really not major a problem.
It's not that obvious.
No, it's not.
Looking for it. But the
to be fair,
as well. I mean, at the minute, I'm sitting here looking at a photograph of Skydiver, and what a magnificent model!
Yeah,
and a concept as well. As a kid, I don't know if they did toys of it. I mean, I used to have as a kid.
No, they didn't do a toy of the.
I had a mobile. I had an interceptor, one of the green interceptors.
Yeah, the green interceptors with the orange runners.
I had UFO cigarettes. These were. Some people listen to this will surprise you, but we used to have Sweetie cigarettes.
We certainly did. I remember those.
And there's a little blue packet of these. You'd get about, I don't know, 10 of these little candy cigarettes. There'd be white strips with a little red thing painted on the end that you'd just suck on, and you'd get cards with them. So there were cards to collect of like UFO cards. Yeah, I don't remember even like a toy UFO, even, which you'd think would be an obvious thing, but they didn't do that. In fact, there is a if you want to see these things, there's a town in Scotland. If you come up the M6 into Scotland on the M74, not long over the border, you can turn off to the right to the town of Moffat. It's very close to the motorway. There's an antique shop there called the Lothlorien Emporium, which is an antique shop on the ground floor, and it's a toy museum upstairs. And the toy museum is full of stuff that a large amount of it's toys in display cabinets, and just hundreds of thousands of them. But they relate back to TV series. Most of them relate back to TV series of the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And there's a cabinet full of this UFO stuff, including the mobile, I think Ed Straker's car.
Yep. That was definitely a toy, yeah.
Yeah, and and the cigarettes and the mobile and the interceptor. As well as like Space 1999 and plenty of Doctor Who and Star Trek and The Man from U.N.C.L.E. the Green Hornet. And there's a room actually that is basically wallpapered with annuals. And I was looking round and I saw annuals I'd forgotten about, but I remember so clearly having them. And one of them was the Space 1999. The UFO annual.
I must admit, I believe I bought that at a jumble sale in when I was in primary school. And I think I got it for like 10 pence or something, whatever monumental huge price it was. And I've got it in I've got it on my bookshelf right now because it's such a great annual.
Well, I after my first visit to this place, which was about 2 years ago, I'd seen these annuals that I'd forgotten about, Star Trek annuals thing, but I saw them. I thought, yeah, God, I remember having that. And I went on eBay and I collected up a lot of them. I've got a lot of them back now. But one of them was a UFO annual, which I had when I was about 8 years old. And annuals were a big thing back then.
Oh, they really were. Yeah.
And so then it arrived, and I was looking through it. I actually, every page I looked at had memories for me. The photographs, the layout, everything. I kind of remembered every page.
I think there's a game, if memory serves as well. You get a dice and you move around the board kind of thing over 2 pages.
Basic. Yeah, so it's very basic, moving squares and go back 3 spaces, and the aliens have abducted you and all that sort of thing. Yeah.
That usual board game in annual malarkey, yes.
Yeah. And colour as well, and God, that's such a nostalgia rush in that museum. I really did. But I recommend it to anyone who's got particularly any memories of that time. I recommend it. And for UFO fans, go there and seek out the UFO cigarettes, the Sweetie cigarettes.
Yeah. I've what we were saying before about her performance. I've got it playing in the background as we speak, and I've only just noticed something. She's trapped in this tube and doing the whole claustrophobia acting thing, but her toes are so scrunched up because she's terrified that it's like that's such a nice bit of act. She's doing toe acting. You don't see quality toe acting enough these days. At all. And then there's Chin's performance as well. Now,
we do have an alien on the submarine, don't we? We do have an alien skydiver in the actor Anthony Chin, who had played an alien previously
in the Square Triangle. Yes.
Yeah. And Anthony Chin playing, what's his name? Lieutenant
Chin.
Which is a Jerry Anderson thing. He liked to use people's real names, didn't he? Because even in this series, Gabrielle Drake playing Gay Ellis. She was brought in, wasn't she, to replace a male actor who's going to be the moon-based commander with an Italian guy, or a guy with an Italian name, who'd been a doppelganger. So and with a totally different name, and she mentioned to Jerry Anderson, I think when she was being interviewed, call me gay. Gabrielle Drake liked to be called gay. She was called gay by her friends, and Jerry Anderson picked up on that, and you said, all right, well, you're now Gay Ellis, the moon-based commander. So it does seem odd that Anthony Chin plays Tony Chin, but of course, you know it's not a coincidence. It is deliberate, but it is a thing that Jerry Anderson did on a fairly regular basis.
This just plays into my theory that it's all real. It genuinely does. Like, all of these people were... Jerry Anderson was actually in charge of Earth Defense, and this whole business with it being inside of a TV studio was just to throw everyone from the fact that he was doing it from inside a TV studio.
Absolutely.
And I will ask Jamie, I definitely will, one day, when I meet the man, I will say, was your dad secretly? And he'll go, yes, that is true. And it'll all make sense.
I'll let him know you're coming.
Yeah. He's got a new podcast out as well, Anderson one.
He has? Yeah.
Yes.
Jerry Anderson
I think
podcast.
they've sent us a trailer, haven't they?
Yes.
So we will... Oh, we could play it right now.
Let's play it now.
What we've got to do is deliver all the best stuff about this podcast in 25 seconds or less.
What, like a trailer?
Like a trailer.
In
It
25
is a trailer.
seconds.
It's
actually
for a trailer.
Oh, right.
Yes, it's a trailer.
Seconds.
Yeah.
There's so much. Okay, right.
4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started.
Well, it's full of interviews with celebrities and stars who worked with or for Jerry Anderson.
That's true. And also news about everything that's going on in the Jerry Anderson universe.
Yeah, we have people getting in touch with us on podcast@jerryanderson.co.uk, asking us questions and giving us their comments.
That's true. And we also have special features like the randomizer from Chris Dale, which selects a random episode each week for him to watch and comment on.
And it's with me, Richard James, and you, Jamie Anderson.
That's right. And people can get in touch on podcast@jerryanderson.co.uk. Do you think that's it?
Oh, well, I think they could subscribe, rate, and review. Is that 25 seconds?
That's it. Let's stop.
We did it!
The Jerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
You've already alluded to this, Andrew, but this is the last of the production block at MGM. And so from this point onwards, we lose George Sewell. So this is his final episode, and for some reason his hair is brushed the opposite direction to the way it has been for the last 16, so he looks very, very odd. It's a slight sort of bad well, not a bad note for him to bow out on, but he has very little to do in this episode. So what are your thoughts on his character throughout the series?
Outrageously sexist. That's the first thing. Yeah, that's the thing that really sticks in my mind. And I say stick, you know, can I first say I love George Sewell, the actor. I mean, he did the Special Branch series. That's what I know him best for, really. Back in the 70s, he did Special Branch as one of the lead characters on that, a DCI in that. In this, yeah, from having rewatched it a couple of years ago, he is the one who does the old backwards look at the attractive woman that passes in the corridor and is quick to come out with the little remarks about that. He doesn't really, for someone who is a lead character, normally at some point a character like that would get an episode almost to themselves, something where we would learn more about them. We never really learn much about his character, do we? You know, we know about as much about Alec Freeman in Subsmash, or by the time we get to Subsmash, as we know from the very first episode of UFO.
You never ever find out how they met, or it's implied that they're kind of one of the, well, Straker's ex-military, and he has known him for a long time. So, but you don't know if he's intelligence or not. I
think there's something in that first episode, isn't there, where they're setting up Shadow, where there's some mention of a history between them. And I think he's got a military background. I think he a British military background. I think we see him in uniform at some point. I think we might do.
Yeah,
but
I think you get a little bit more in Confetti Check, where they're kind of flashing back.
That makes sense.
He's best man at the wedding.
He's the first Shadow employee.
Yeah,
because he gets announced.
But you're right. I guess from the minute that Foster comes on the scene, Foster is very much the second male lead. And he does get those episodes like you were talking about earlier. Survival is one. He very early on gets to kind of do that, and that one story that does sort of split the two of them up where Straker is chasing after Jane Merrow, and I mean, it's called the responsibility seat, so you kind of think, well, that's named after the chair that Alex sits in, but that's very much the secondary plot in that episode. So even then, you don't get much from him.
No.
But
I don't. I suspect as an actor,
he's a fun character.
Yeah. This doesn't make a great impact as a character. It doesn't make a great impact in the series. But I still remember George Sewell being in. I mean, if I hadn't seen this series since the 1960s, 70s, I would still remember George Sewell from it. So he made enough of an impact with me.
Yeah, I think he's taken an adequate part and made it as good as he could. And I think he did a perfectly decent job doing that. Maybe that's what the sexism was for, in order to give him some sort of characterization. I doubt it. I'm being fairly generous.
I think it was the TV of the late 1960s, early 70s.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I mean, it was something that I asked Aisha about in our interview, and did say, well, did you feel that your gender was being used? And she certainly didn't feel that way. That was what she said. But I don't think you can really get away from the fact that this was made 50 years ago, and societal values were not what they are now.
No, that's right.
Things that were deemed appropriate then are just not now.
Yeah, and it's not that it reflects badly on the program maker. You know, I know there are people who'd like to kind of judge people by today's standards and condemn them for
that's an easy
writing and presenting
swipe
that kind of
to
thing.
do,
but it was the thing at the time. But that doesn't change the fact that some of it is uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that's us that have changed, not the program.
Times have changed.
Yeah.
Very much for the better. Yeah. But I don't think there's anything across UFO that I've seen that I think made me think, oh, I don't want to watch that. I don't want to watch this episode again.
Yeah, that's...
Unlike, for instance, I went through a stage of listening to the unabridged audios of the James Bond novels a couple of years back,
right?
Produced by Lucy Fleming, Ian Fleming's niece, I think she was. And they're unedited, and they have got stuff in them that, that is completely beyond the pale. And I remember speaking to Lucy about it at a Survivors recording for Big Finish. But, did you consider cutting this stuff out? There are two stories. We have characters who voice the opinion that every woman's fantasy is to be dragged into a cave and raped. There are two stories, on a Majesty's Secret Service and From Russia with Love. And I mentioned this to her, and she said, we wanted to do the full original text. And there were some actors who said they wouldn't do it.
Fair enough.
Other actors who were very uncomfortable about it. There's nothing that goes that far in UFO.
Yeah. No.
There's just stuff that you think, no, sexism, women being treated as sexual objects, no, not good. But it doesn't, for me, never really crosses that line into
I think I don't
think it's anything here that you wouldn't broadcast. Say
no. No, it's not like because we've discussed this a few times in the past when it comes to other Anderson properties, and I think the only truly problematic one that you were going to bring back now, apart from Secret Service, which let's not go there, would be Joe 90 with the whole warrior child thing, which is a shame because it would make a great program. You'd really have to take a different twist on some of it.
But you said you couldn't bring it. You couldn't bring it back, or you wouldn't broadcast it.
No, I'd still broadcast it. I was thinking if you were going to.
No, it's interesting. I was going to bring it with Andrew.
Yeah.
I just a few weeks ago, I was exchanging emails with Andrew Pixley, who of course wrote the excellent book that comes with the Blu-ray. I don't know if it's still.
No, you can't. You can't get it, and even Andrew himself doesn't have a copy.
Does he not?
No.
Oh, I have a copy right here. I do know. I don't think they'll be doing anything quite as big as.
Trust me, I was trying to track down a copy.
No, we were talking about in the email we're talking about, Joe 90, and I was saying, basically you've got a kid, you're teaching to kill people and give him a gun, and
yeah.
But then we kind of both been through this thing of thinking, yeah, but it's Joe 90, come on. And we were kids watching it, and we go back and we watch it and we love it,
Oh God, yeah.
I think the more disturbing thing for me about Joe 90 is the fact that he, beyond being taught to kill, he is given the brain patterns of adults, and in particular, he's given the brain pattern of his father, and you kind of think, well, how far does it go? Does it include memories? In which case, you don't want your father's memories.
No, you don't. It's like they're giving someone's browser history, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the more.
Yeah.
Perhaps it's one of those things where just don't look too closely.
Yeah, you can't, and I think with Captain Scarlet as well. When I rewatched that for the first time as an adult, I was just like, the Mysterons are having a laugh, aren't they? Because if you take it kind of seriously, they could wipe humanity out like that, and they don't.
Mugs.
And it's clearly
they're mugs, because each week they say, "This is what we're going to do."
That's true.
We're going to
but that's part of it, isn't it? It's basically saying, this is the game we're playing this week.
Yeah.
Can you stop us? And they don't care whether they win or lose. That seems to be the only way that you can kind of rationalise the Mysterons. But I don't care, because the adventures themselves.
No, I don't care. Again, when I was a kid, this stuff was just fantastic, and I recently got the complete Captain Scarlet on iTunes, and I've been working my way through it. And Joe 90's not on there yet. I keep an eye out for this stuff, because I would, I don't buy many DVDs now. Everything's digital for me, pretty much, apart from UFO Blu-rays and things. Yeah. And a lot of 70s.
Because they've now brought out Captain Scarlet on Blu-ray, and I think, what was it? Did they announce that Joe 90 is going to be? I think Joe 90 is the next one that they're Blu-ray.
Yeah, I've not seen that. Network who are bringing these things out have developed an annoying habit recently where they've drifted back to doing volumes. So instead of doing a complete this or that or the other, they got like Man in a Suitcase and Randall and the Hopkirk Deceased, again, two very popular series of the 60s and 70s. They've been bringing those out in Volume 1, Volume 2, which I think that's what we did with VHS back in the 80s and 90s, and we stopped doing it. So network distributing, if you could stop that, great, because I'm not going to get these Volume 1, Volume 2s.
No.
I'm not having it.
Well, I was in Sainsbury's a couple of weeks ago, and I noticed that there are complete sets of everything now. And they were running a promotion on it. I think it was Space 1999. I was looking, going, I think it's 25 quid for every episode ever. And I'm thinking, and that's on DVD. I could justify that. Almost.
Well, and I don't mind series.
People are encouraging us to do Space.
They really are. There's a lot of emails.
When we finish UFO.
Oh, yeah. But I've got the Blu-rays of those as well. I've got the Blu-rays of those.
It's a series that I've seen literally no full episode of.
Well,
I've probably seen the odd, maybe like 5 minutes of 2 or 3 episodes of Space 1999, so it's largely a mystery to me.
I bought them.
I've still to work through all the episodes. I expect I already have the impression from the ones I watched that it's going to be a little bit of a frustrating exercise, because the memory does cheat.
Oh, without question.
And it seems to be a little all over the place, but there is an episode, Dragon's Domain, if you watch no other episode, watch that one. I actually wrote that one up. I novelised that one for myself when it was broadcast, I remember. And that's a great story.
Okay.
But we're getting away from UFO, aren't we? But this is...
We are.
Again,
you know
this
what?
is
We're
all
allowed.
just big nostalgia grenades going off in my head when I talk about this stuff.
It's all right.
And UFO does the same thing for me.
Right.
It's just fantastic. And no one else was doing this. I mean, we got those of us who were kids back in the 60s and 70s, and even my kids now can watch this stuff and enjoy it. But we were so lucky to have this, to have Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet and Joe 90, Space 1999 and UFO, all these programs that were just such tremendous quality.
I am absolutely sure that our Nostalgia Fest will continue in the next podcast, but have we said everything we need to say about Subsmash?
I think we probably
have.
I'm sure we could say more. Well, let's dive into Anderson Watch and Doctor Who Watch to finish off the episode.
Yes.
So we'll see, Andrew, if you're any better than Michael.
I'm appalling at this.
Spotting people. So I mean, we've already talked about a few of these, but can you tell me who you spotted in Subsmash that has appeared in other Anderson shows?
God. You know what? I have a feeling there's a couple of like smaller actors who've done little things.
Yes.
But because we were initially going to do this, I think about 4 or 5 weeks ago, weren't we? And and that's when I watched the episodes then about 2 weeks before that and did some research and things, most of which has gone out of my head. And no, I mean I have got an interesting thing about the cast list and the casting that I might come back to after we've done Who Watch and Prisoner Watch. In fact, we will.
Okay.
Will remind me, but no. Apart from the obvious, George Sewell, who was in Remembrance of the Daleks, he said, looking down the list. No, again, I think we got Burnell Tucker as the Albatross pilot, and I've got a feeling he did something, but I can't remember what it was.
He did. Well, I'll fill you in a minute. Michael, any nuggets from
on the Anderson Watch? The voice wise, I was getting Paul Maxwell, and I was going, I've heard you in lots of things.
You have.
Yeah.
You have.
He's in Fireball. Sorry, Fireball XL5.
Steve Zodiac, wasn't he? Yeah.
Steve Zodiac from Fireball XL5. Yes. And anything else?
I cheated with that one. I heard that this morning on the Nick and Benji podcast, on the Benji and Nick podcast, and I made it sound as if, was he in Fireball XL5 by any chance? Yeah.
Yeah. So he was Steve Zodiac in Fireball XL5. He did a couple of episodes of Thunderbirds. And then he's the captain of the Martian mission in Thunderbirds Argo. He's Captain... is it Paul Travers? It might be, again, one of those using his own name as his first name. And then he was in Captain Scarlet as he was a regular voice person in Captain Scarlet. So he plays the Earth President in the first episode. He's in lots of episodes. But in particular, he was the voice of Captain Grey.
Okay.
Oh, right, yeah. Well, again, he was... At the time, he was one of the go-to...
Yeah,
British productions are needed. In fact, in the commentary, again, he was a very good friend of Ed Bishop, and Ed says in the commentary that the two of them were always going up for the same part. So probably the two of them and Bruce Boa, would be the guys going for the American roles. In fact, I saw Paul. He turned up in so many things. I saw him just very recently in the 4-part BBC comedy drama Sleepers.
Right.
Yes, I liked that.
Well, and I think the other major sci-fi role of note is he's briefly in Aliens. He's the guy kind of heading the committee. This was
mentioned in the Benji and Nick podcast.
So he's the guy that tells Ripley that the planet has been colonized since she's been asleep for whatever many years.
And is that only in the director's cut?
Looking slightly older and fatter than this.
Yeah, I think is that only the director's cut?
No, I've never seen the director's cut. So it is.
No, he's
definitely in the original.
He's definitely he's in both. Yeah.
Cool.
So we have him. We've mentioned Anthony Chin, and for time's sake, we talked about him in the Square Triangle. So if you want to go back to the Square Triangle to talk about his other Anderson roles. And then I mentioned Alan Fennell earlier. He was the writer of this episode. We should have talked about him 2 or 3 episodes ago on ESP because he wrote that. But his other credits are that he wrote 10 episodes of Thunderbirds, 24 episodes of Stingray, 17 episodes of Fireball XL5, and the 3 new episodes of Thunderbirds, the ones that were made from Audio Adventures from the 60s that have been super marionated in the last sort of 3 years. He wrote 2 of those. So a long writing pedigree with Anderson. And you were right, Andrew. So that we'll kind of combine the end of Anderson Watch with Who Watch because the 2 actors here, Burnell Tucker and Alan Haywood, have both done other Anderson things and Doctor Who things. So Burnell Tucker, who was the pilot of the plane flying with George Sewell, he appeared in an episode of Space Precinct.
Hooray!
Wait. Go on.
I've never seen Space Precinct. I've no idea if it's any good or not.
Oh, I've been meaning to ask. Have you ever seen Dick Spanner? No.
No.
Right. Fine. We shall bring that up another time.
I've never heard of it.
Dick Spanner comes up briefly in next episode's Anderson Watch, so we will talk about Dick Spanner next time. But do you know who Bernal Tucker was in Doctor Who?
Did he do one of the early black and whites?
No. You are about as cold as you can get.
Oh, okay,
Andrew.
He's in the new series.
He is in the new series.
Yeah.
So you know the beginning of Angels Take Manhattan, where you kind of discover how the hotel works, and there's the guy that goes in and then sees himself as an old man.
Yeah.
So Bernal Tucker is the old version of that character.
Oh, right.
Yes.
Cool.
And so to finish off, we have Alan Haywood, who was one of the divers that gets sent down to rescue people. He appeared in Doppelganger.
Oh, right, yeah. Journey to the Far Side of the Sun.
Far Side of the Sun.
Yeah.
We're briefly, because we haven't got much time, but what are your memories of Doppelganger, Andrew?
I haven't seen it. I've got it on Blu-ray. But I haven't watched it. Thank you for asking.
Well,
I genuinely think at some point we're going to have to just do an entire episode dedicated to Doppelganger, and
I think you are.
Please don't, because I really don't like.
No, I know, but
they finished off ShadowCon with a kind of showing of it at
it was like 10 o'clock or something.
At the Quad, and I think it was going to finish that late, and partly because I needed to get back home to my family, but also just because I wasn't a fan. I was like, I'm not staying for that.
I suspect many other people were of the same opinion.
No, it was a public showing, so actually it was the part of the convention that anybody off the street could come to. So I don't know. I would have to ask if there's anybody who stayed. Let us know how big the audience was.
In all fairness, though, in the interests of being, podcasters, it's often better to watch something that you're not particularly fond of because you've got something to say other than I quite like that.
Yeah,
because that's not true. The best listening experience. Somebody just being enthusiastic. Said the man who does the Tin Dog podcast, who's just enthuastic all the time.
You're just enthusiastic about Big Finish all the time.
I am. It's a curse. Yeah.
Well, let's finish off Doctor Who watch. So Alan Haywood. So he was in Doppelganger. He was in this episode of UFO. What Doctor Who story was he in?
Oh.
Toby Haydock would be able to tell you straight away, but we haven't got Toby Haydock on.
That means it's classic.
Certainly
series,
does.
I'm sure.
It is. Yeah.
Black and white.
Yes.
Well, to be honest, I would just be listing stories. Marco Polo.
You would.
I don't know.
Mythmakers. There you go.
You're a couple of seasons. Mythmakers. You're correct, Michael.
The one we can't see. Yay.
Yes. He plays Prince Hector, so he gets dispatched very early on in the story. So, and that's it. No prisoner characters this week.
Well, right. But here's something about the cast. You know the final scene? They're all in the hospital room.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the nurse comes in and sends everybody out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you know who she is?
I don't.
Neither
Hang
do.
on a minute.
Go on.
Did I miss somebody? Is that Louise Pageo again?
I have absolutely no idea because she's not listed. She's not listed as an extra. I found a copy of the script. The character wasn't in the original shooting script. I've mentioned it to Andrew Pixley. And she's not listed anywhere. She's not listed among the uncredited cast, either in Andrew's book or in the Chris Bentley book. The nurse wasn't in the shooting script.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know who she is. I don't know why she's in there. I mean, they obviously decided they needed someone to come in and send them on the way.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of digging around trying to find out who that was. And I don't know. So we've got a character that there doesn't seem to be any list anywhere of
who she is.
Who the actor is.
Well, if anybody listening knows who that is, then do let us know. I think that's a fascinating note to end on. Really.
Yeah.
So we will be back in 2 weeks. For you, I mean, for us, it's going to be a few minutes. Andrew is going to stay with us.
Well, there's no inside baseball around here. We're just very honest.
Yes. And Andrew is going to be staying with us for the next episode.
Yeah.
But until then, it's goodbye from me.
Be seeing you.
And I'll be seeing you as well. Bye for now.